Walters. We're here today on a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. Okay, we'll take announcements. I just want to remind everybody we do have a sign interpreter this morning. I would appreciate it if you would just slow the pace down a little bit, make life a little easier for her.
Todd Alvey on behalf of the Department of Family and Protective Services. Present, ready to proceed. Marissa Herrera is the St. Francis Ministries Pharmacy Specialist. She will be giving us an update.
Sage Seal, Your Honor, here on behalf of the mother, Jennifer Walters, as attorney ad litem. Ms. Walters is present, and we're ready.
Bailey Sapien, guardian ad litem for Miss Jennifer Walters, and I'm ready.
Patricia Ferguson for Misty and Greg Carr, and we're ready, Your Honor.
Erin Molinax, attorney ad litem for the child, ready.
Okay, and Casa is also present with us today. Ms. Herrera, we would look to you for an update.
So we heard back from the HCS Metro Care down in Dallas, and they did have her related eye condition a part of the assessment that they did, and they said they are going to stand by that she is not eligible for HCS right now. And right now, Rose is also displaying some out of character behaviors. She did have a runaway incident in February. She was gone for less than a day. And then she's also skipping school and showing up tardy pretty often. And so she's in a credit recovery after school. So as long as she's attending that, she shouldn't need summer school. But overall, we're going to do a visit up here in Amarillo in February, but since she ran away right before it, we did not do that visit just because of the concern that she would run away again. But she did get a visit during spring break up here in Amarillo with the Pars and Jennifer. And we plan on doing summer visits at least monthly, but if she has to do summer school, then that will obviously impact how long those visits will last here in Amarillo. But she is at a moderate level of care, so we would like to put in a placement request to get her in a less restrictive placement, possibly closer to Amarillo, to maintain her family bonds, because at this point she cannot go to HCS housing and she cannot go back to the PARS. So we're hoping with mediation we can come up with a good permanency plan for Rose.
So when you say a less restrictive placement, are we talking about what? I mean, talking about group home? Are we talking about specialized foster home? What are we looking at?
We could really do either. Whenever we talk to Rose about it, she's very up and down about what she wants as far as placement. Sometimes she wants to stay where she's at. Sometimes she'll say she wants a foster home to adopt her. We cannot move forward with adoption without a termination, though. And so we've explained that to her. A group setting would be good for her, a group home setting.
All right. Ms. Seal, anything to report today?
Nothing to report, Your Honor. It's still my understanding that Ms. Walters would like to be involved with Rose as much as possible.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Ferguson?
Nothing, Your Honor. We do have concerns about group home, but that's right now she's in a placement that's the best possible at this point.
All right, and Ms. Sapien?
I just wanted to make the court aware the last time we met, there was some talk about Miss Walters not attending the Zoom hearings. And so I wanted you to know, Judge, that she does want to continue to attend these hearings. And she does have a preference for in-person meetings.
Yes, in the summer, like starting in May.
Okay.
As opposed to virtual visits.
Visits, yes, more visits.
Hang on real quick. Just hold on, everybody stop. All right, let's back up because I noticed that Ms. Walters was signing to Ms. Sturkey
Oh,
Well-
okay.
Yes.
while you were speaking. So Ms. Sturkey was not being able to interpret you for Ms. Walters. So let's back way up. Ms. Sturkey, kind of, what was where were you interpreting from Ms. Walters?
She was saying that she wants in-person visits starting in May, but she agrees with the placement. Everything's good for Rose, but she wants more visits starting in May. Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sapien, why don't you kind of start over? Because I think we really were stepping all over each other there.
Okay. I was simply saying, Your Honor, that Jennifer does like coming to the Zoom hearings and she prefers her visits with the child in person. And that's all I have.
Yes, she agrees.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Mullinex.
Your Honor, as you heard, there was a runaway incident in February. And Rose explained that she was kind of being told by the kids at the placement that she didn't belong there. And at our last hearing, she wanted to stay in that placement, even though it was, I think, a higher level of care. But as of yesterday, she has indicated to us that she wants to either go home with the Pars or move closer to home because she's depressed of not being able to be close to her family.
Yes.
And so if we can find a placement closer to home, I know she wants to do that at this point, but as Ms. Herrera, I think, said, she does kind of go back and forth, but I haven't heard her say she wanted to stay in the placement for a little while.
Okay. Let me hear from Casa.
Good morning. Yes, when I spoke to Rose yesterday, she went from wanting to be moved closer to wanting to go back home with the Pars. I told her, that I would tell you, she wanted me to tell the judge that she wanted to go home. And so I told her I would tell you that. But she is very, one day she wants to get adopted. The next day she wants to go home. My concerns are also the continued healing of her foot. She broke her foot. She has since got the cast off, but she's refusing to wear the boot that they recommended. And then also with skipping class, and she's also refusing to do her work. She has STAR tests this week. And one of those things she didn't participate in was a STAR review. And that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Well, I don't see any harm in looking for a placement that's closer, in region, so that she's closer to family. Because, if she's not going to qualify for an HCS slot, we all have to start thinking about what is this going to look like for Rose after she turns 18. And to be closer to family seems to me would be the most beneficial thing for her. The issue of adoption, I guess that's something you all can discuss at mediation. I just don't know if that's this case. I definitely want St. Francis to be looking at placements And maybe that will, if we can get her closer to home, maybe that will stop some of the behaviors.
And Judge, there is one other thing that I think contributes to that. She had a boyfriend and they broke up, and I think that's caused some issues as well. Ms. Gillum may be able to talk more about that, but I think she had issues after that started happening.
Okay.
Yes,
I
that
think
is
so.
when
That
right after that.
boyfriend,
Oh, hang on a minute, Ms. Gillen, just a minute. Ms. Walters was, just a
yeah,
minute.
she said, yes, she thinks that's when the trouble started, when she broke up with her boyfriend.
Okay, Ms. Gillen, go ahead.
Yes, that is when right after that was the runaway, when she ran away. Also, I think she did get a cell phone that she purchased with her own money. And I think that has also opened up a whole new world of things online and like Snapchat and things like that. And I don't think that she has, that is also a concern I have. I don't think she has, like, I'm afraid she might meet someone. And just because when she did run away, she met someone at the park bench, and I don't know who that person was exactly.
Well, that's very concerning. And can we not get a hold of the phone and get some secure, some blocks and some secure measures on the phone?
I think Jamie had asked about that, asked placement, and they said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, they said that that wasn't really something they did.
Judge, I believe placement stated that since it was Rose's phone, they didn't buy it for her and they don't provide the service. That as far as, limiting or putting whatever they can't, we had talked about safe apps and not safe apps. And they said that's not anything that they do since it is her phone. But that is a major concern of ours.
What was the source of money for the phone?
She said it was with her Christmas money.
I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, I don't think she had that much Christmas money.
Well, it's not a iPhone that she bought from Verizon. I think it was one that she bought at Walmart. So it's just a pay as you go phone. And so, and that's what she's told us. So
our concern would be there would be an outside source possibly for that phone that's trying to maintain access with her.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the questions. I mean, I didn't know if the PARs are sending that or
the PARs are not the source of that money. No. They have.
I think the phone.
Go ahead, Ms. Gillen.
She did buy the phone at Walmart, she said. I think it was because she had $50 in Christmas money, and she didn't have enough to buy a month's plan. I think it was like $45. So she does get an allowance. I think it's $30 a month if she does good at school, but she can use that phone. She can connect to Wi-Fi and doesn't necessarily have to call anyone to pay for the service. I mean, once she has the phone, she can just connect to Wi-Fi and use those messaging apps.
Where does she, I mean, is her access to Wi-Fi not monitored at all? Because our concern is that she would be open for exploitation.
Yeah, obviously, that's a big concern. Ms. Herrera, do you notice, I mean, do they monitor or allow restricted access to the Wi-Fi or?
No, I think that she can just get on the Wi-Fi and then she has complete internet access. And we've had concerns because she does get on Snapchat and she'll add people that she thinks she knows who they are. And so we've had concerns about it as well.
She doesn't know these people.
Well, I hate to do that, to just order to take the phone away, but unless we can get some security measures put on that phone. And, the department's the managing conservator of this child. So I certainly think that the authority to take the phone and put some appropriate age blocks and things like that on the phone is okay. I mean, and if she wants to keep the phone for some purposes, then otherwise we just have to take the phone completely.
Can we get you to make that an order for us, Judge? Just that we have the authority to place age appropriate blocks on her access.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Done. So I think we need to get that handled right away. And I think Miss Herrera or someone needs to go through the phone and see who she's been talking to and what is the conversation. And I mean, that's going to give us an idea about, what we're dealing with. I mean, I hate that, but she's still a child. Sorry. And it's for her own protection. So, I hear this argument from teenagers all the time, but it's just the way it is. Okay, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue her current placement, but I want to look for an alternative placement. I think something in region, and the department has the authority to manage her telephone, put appropriate blocks on it, take the phone if that becomes necessary for her protection. Whatever we've got to do about that. Have you all set a mediation yet?
Not sure, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just order.
She's saying it's her phone, really.
Ms. Walters is saying that it's Ms. Walters' phone?
That's what she's saying. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Parr is disagreeing with that.
She's saying it's her phone that Rose has.
Ms. Parr does not agree with that. I don't know what the issue is, but either way, it could be taken from her and monitored.
Okay.
That would be our position.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to order you all mediate by July 1st because we are set on July 24th of 2024 on a 9 o'clock docket. And I'll find that there would be a continuing danger for the child to return home at this point in time. So we'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue replacement. Like I said, we're going to look for new placement in region. I'm going to order that the department and or St. Francis Ministries can monitor that phone, place any blocks on it that seem necessary, or take it away if we've got a serious problem going. Okay. As far as visits, yeah, I think in-person visits obviously are better for everybody, but we've got to work around school, and she's behind in school. So I think we just have to keep doing the best we can on holidays and things of that nature, because, it's just critical we get her caught up in school. And that way, maybe she won't have to do summer school and she could come for some longer visits.
Yes.
Okay, then. Good luck to everybody in mediation, and then I'll see everybody back July 24th. We're here on a review hearing.
Thank you, Your
conducting
Honor.
this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Albee on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready to proceed, Your Honor. Mavis Apoku-Asante is our St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist. She'll be giving an update today on Braden's cure.
Aaron Millenax, attorney ad litem for the child, present, ready, Your Honor.
Okay, and Casa is present with us. All right, Ms. Apoku-Asante, what do we have new since your court report was filed?
Okay, since the court report, the placement has sent a discharge notice on Braden that they are going to discharge him by 5/11/2024 due to him running away and then his behavior at the placement. But I spoke to him this week, and he was telling me he loves the place, and he asked whether the placement has sent a discharge notice on him. I couldn't tell him the truth because I didn't want him to know beforehand. So I told him no, and he said he loves the place and he doesn't want to move. So I spoke to Mr. Wilson, who is the director of the place, and Mr. Wilson told me they are not going to change their mind. They are still going to go ahead with the discharge notice.
All right, so we're going to be looking for something different, something new. I just from review of the report, seems like we've had a lot of marijuana involved with Braden, and it kind of almost appears to me that that's the trigger here. I don't know whether anybody agrees or disagrees with that. I'd be interested in everyone's thoughts because I'm wondering if we need to be looking at some kind of program where there's some drug treatment. So, Mrs. Sante, do you have an opinion about that, or?
Yeah, the placement provided him with individual therapy, with drug counseling and all those, but it seems that he's not getting it.
Okay. Ms. Molinax?
Your Honor, with regard to the runaway, if I recall, and someone else may be able to correct me, I believe he was found maybe in Dallas with another friend. And I don't know if he's the one that's facilitating the THC and marijuana use, or if it's his friends that he's hanging out with and he's doing it because of that. But he also told us that he wanted the same placement. He just turned 17, I think, pretty recently, and he wants to be able to work, but his runaway status prevents that, so he has to get permission to do that. Mr. Wilson, I believe it was, that put in the discharge notice, said that since they put in that notice, then his behavior's gotten better, but I wasn't aware that they weren't going to take it back, but I think that's at least the second discharge notice that they've given, because they gave a discharge notice when he ran away, and they had to because he hadn't been found at some point. Miss Opoku Asante, I think, could probably respond to that if I'm wrong. So, I mean, I don't know where we go from here because he keeps getting discharged for running away and for different reasons. And, you know, if marijuana is an issue, then maybe we try to get a treatment, but, you know, he's already been doing counseling for it. So I don't know what else to look at.
I guess I had in mind something a little more intensive as far as drug treatment, but I mean, it just seems like every time there's some major issue, there's marijuana involved. And
I mean, Your Honor, if you don't mind me jumping in here, I mean, I don't know. I wish that we could do something to get Braden to see what's going on. He is such a good kid. When Mavis and I went down there to pick him up from the detention center, he's not a bad kid. I mean, we stopped at Whataburger, and he's, you know, excited about his, you know, strawberry Fanta, and he's asking if I want any French fries, you know, and we're just sitting in the back seat of the car. It's, you know, after midnight at that point. He's a good kid, and I think he just keeps getting stuck in tough situations that he doesn't have the coping mechanisms for. And this is what I was talking with his counselor earlier this week, about what's going on, you know, and what placement's going to look like. And I worry that, I mean, I don't think there's anything we can, I don't know if there's anything we can do at this point in terms of his placement, but I hate the fact of him moving. And I cover this in my report, but like, the fact of the matter is placement's not the issue. It's Braden's ability to cope with stressors. Do those stressors come up, and does he then turn and rely on marijuana, THC, whatever it is he's vaping? Yeah, probably. Does that put him in a state where he's probably not making the best decisions? Yeah, probably. But I think to your point of a more intensive treatment program, I mean, if there was anything we could do with placement to get him to be like, hey, what if we implement these programs? Is there any way we can finagle some way to keep him in placement, at least for, you know, let's give him 4 to 6 weeks or something of treatment on this, see what happens, let him stay in there, but with him having the knowledge that if this doesn't click, he's out. Because my worry is that with his history, he's going to end up in some placement that is a lot worse off and that there aren't people that care for him the way that he is looked after and cared for there, even if he doesn't recognize that. And my worry is that if he's going to get shipped off, no offense to other RTCs, but I mean, if he ends up getting shipped off to Houston or something, I'm worried that he's just going to bounce around and in a year he's going to be 18 and in prison somewhere. And I don't know what anyone else has to say on that. I feel like we're at a crossroads for Braden, that if we can find some way to stick with him, get other people to stick with him, and if he knows what's really at risk right now, and we make that very clear and obvious to him and have a list of things like, you cross any of these, that's it, maybe we can do something.
He seems to have a disconnect between, actions and consequences,
Yes.
like lots of kids his age,
Yes.
but maybe more so than a lot of kids his age. And I think that a lot of that goes back to he's just, I mean, this kid he's been tossed around most of his life. He's been kind of handed off and just handed off is about the best way I could say it. He's just been handed off to this person or to that person. I suspect he has some real kind of, attachment disorders type thing. I don't claim to be a therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, but I just don't know. I mean, I agree with you, Mr. Ellison. I think we're at a crossroads, and I think we're running higher and higher risks of losing him or him getting into some kind of serious trouble. I don't think it'd be Braden that's probably out looking for that, but Braden's I think he's kind of a follower, and I think he may be somebody and find himself in a real serious situation, maybe.
And that's what, I mean, whenever Mavis and Deja and I, whenever we went down there to get him in Dallas, first of all, he was surprised to see us. And second of all, I told him when we were in the car, I was like, look, Braden, like, you don't always see us, but I was like, you've got a whole group of people that are behind you. I was like, you've got CASA, you've got your caseworkers, you've got St. Francis, you've got your attorneys. I was like, you've got all these people. And I told him, I was like, every time you run, you're running from all of us also. And I think that I don't know what's going to get through to him, but I don't feel I'm nervous about his placement move. I'm very nervous about his placement move. And I understand Mr. Wilson's hesitation, his caution, his concerns about keeping Braden. But at the same time, if there's anything we can do to try to meet those concerns halfway, I say, I mean, let's push it, because like the worst thing that can happen is placement goes on, but we might as well fight for something. And I don't know what the court's got that they can do, but if we can just talk with him in some way and set something up, I really want to advocate for that.
Well, and here's my concern. We've had this issue. He previously stole a car with some other kids and he's run away. And every single time, we've talked about it in previous hearings, every single time that something happens, he goes back and he doesn't have consequences at all. So he's never even spent like a night in detention or anything. And so if he ran away and somebody put him in detention and said, hey, this is what happens if you get in trouble, then maybe that would work out. But he's now 17. And so what happens when you're 17 as a criminal? You get charged as an adult. Yeah. And so we're at that point where I don't know that we can even do anything about that at this point, because he's going to go to detention and be charged in jail and be charged as an adult if he commits an offense at this time.
Yeah.
No, we talked about that. We talked about that the day that we dropped him off, and he knows, and he told us that he's not going to commit any more crimes again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Aaron makes a really good point from the perspective of, I mean, he knows what's going on. And if we lay it out for him and say like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going to happen, like our hands are starting to get tied on what we can do for you. And if placement knows that too, obviously moving him to different placements does not fix the running issue. All it does is push it off on someone else. It's just like, teachers, if I don't want to worry, I'm just going to fail the student, let next year's teacher worry about it. And then you get to graduation, and Braden's coming up on graduation. I don't know.
Does he have, okay, let's start here. Is there any hope of taking one more shot at placement and saying, give him 30 days, give him 30 more days and see how it goes? And if things are better, then, okay, we'll look at extending again. Is there any way that they might be willing to do that? Because, I mean, I hate to move him. I mean, but we can't force these people to keep him. What the placement that he's in right now, I mean, it's a true RTC, isn't it?
It's a GRO.
Okay, it's a GRO. Okay. So how many kids are there?
I think they have various houses. I don't know the total number of kids in the GRO.
I mean, it was a nice location when we went there. I was really impressed with it. I mean, Mavis can talk to that too, but it was, I mean, they had the different houses for the different groups of kids. Everything was clean. Everything looked like it was well taken care of. And I mean, to his credit, Mr. Wilson was frustrated in the way you would expect a parent to be frustrated with a kid. It wasn't just all right, Braden, go to your room. It was, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'd like to do is just take one more shot at them and ask them, is there something, what can we do? What can we do to help you? Can we find, additional, drug treatment or counseling resources or something, for Braden that aren't offered right there? Is there something that we can do additionally to help them?
There should be outpatient drug treatment or even inpatient drug treatment available, especially if he's in Dallas.
No, he's in Bryan, Texas.
Oh, Brian. Okay.
Yeah.
He was recovered on Runaway in Dallas. Ms. Smith, sorry to. So yeah, he's in Bryan, but I would still think that might be available in that area.
I can ask someone to reach out to Mavis and provide any resources that we have.
Okay. Maybe that's something we could offer placement, say, maybe we do either intensive outpatient or maybe we send him for inpatient and, could they hold his bed if he went to inpatient for a couple weeks or, I just don't know how. I think the inpatient thing, what I like about that is it might get his attention.
Yeah.
He's not going to like it, but it might get his attention that, okay, this is what happens when I use marijuana and I run and I let other people influence me, but I don't want that to cause to lose his bed at placement if they would work with us and give us 30 more days and see how it goes. So I guess that's a question. If like he went to some kind of treatment, even for a couple of weeks, could we hold his bed? And would they agree to do that? Give them a breather, give Braden a chance to maybe do some soul searching as much as any 17-year-old can do soul searching.
Another suggestion might be having his doctor review his medication to see if there's maybe anything better that helps with impulse control. So I do show he's on medicine, but I don't know if maybe that's an option.
Okay. I think these are all good suggestions, Ms. Smith.
I think the question is just going to be, and Mavis, you might be able to answer this better than anybody. I don't know how much you've been talking with Mr. Wilson, but just if we let him know that we chatted today, I mean, we had everybody here talking and just sort of let him know, like, this is what we're doing. Is there anything? I mean, how receptive do you think he'd be to something like this? Mr. Wilson, I mean.
Well, when I talked to him the other time after speaking with Braden, he told me normally when they send a discharge, they don't change their mind. But, it's worth trying again. I can talk to him again and see if they'll be able to give him additional 30 days added to the one that he has previously given to see if they can work with him. He likes him and he's like, I know he's changing. And I told him about what he told me, that he really likes this place. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But I wasn't able to disclose to him that the discharge notice has been given because I didn't want him to opt out, for these few days. So I'll talk to him and see if they can change their mind. I'm sure, they'll be willing to do it because they love Braden so much.
And it may be beneficial to point out that I think since I've been on this case, this is the longest placement that there's been, and he's gotten in the least trouble at this placement.
Yeah.
So kind of point out that this actually is helping. You guys are helping him, and if you can give us a little bit more time, then maybe we can help you help him.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea because if they don't have the sort of macro level view that we do, looking back at all those places. If they're only seeing him there, yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Probably encouraging to them to know that whatever they're doing is working, even if they don't think it is.
Absolutely. I mean, he has done better here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to know that. And I think, it's the elephant in the room and it's probably very, very obvious to him, but he is 17 and you can use my words, but just say, the judge is really concerned because he's just been handed off his whole life. And this is one more handoff. And, I really worry about moving him again. So we're begging them to reconsider, and we'll try to step up the resources that we can provide. And let's see if we can't buy a little time. I mean, if we can buy the first 30 days, maybe then, we'll get some other things in place, and then we'll look at the next 30 and then the next 30, So,
Right, I would
And
do
if
that.
so
and if we want to,
no pressure, Miss Apuko Asante.
well, and I can too. I mean, if we're curious about different treatment options, like I said, I was talking with Mr. Porter, his therapist, earlier this week. I can always give him a call back. I mean, obviously he'll know what kind of resources are around there. Maybe he's got some ideas on something. If we want to look at the inpatient route, he may know something that's there around there that we can look at for him too. So we can always shop around some options and see what turns up.
I mean, I know when we think in terms of inpatient, we all typically think of a 30-day type thing. And maybe there's something that could be structured a little differently for him. Maybe not a full 30-day inpatient, but maybe, like I said, a week, 10 days, 14 days, something. Number one, let's give placement just a quick breather, and let's give Braden a little food for thought. So, if any of that's possible, I don't know, and Mr. Ellison, his therapist may disagree with that completely. And so I'm just tossing out ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know in the past, Mr. Porter, I mean, he says whenever he meets with them on the weekends, he says they go out, they play basketball, he tries to talk and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think they've got a good relationship. So I'm sure will listen to some ideas, and at least, if nothing else, help us maybe brainstorm on some way to keep him there.
Okay. All right. Well, golly, I wish I could wave the magic wand, the magic gavel.
Yeah. I was telling Braden, I was like, if we had a stick that we could just bop you on the head and be done with this would be fantastic, but they don't make those anymore.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess we just see what we can do. Ms. Smith, I appreciate you sending Ms. Apuko Asante any resources you come up with, and that let's just circulate that to everybody. Let's make sure CASA gets that, and then we'll just get everybody looped in and see what we can come up with.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate it. And so for today, continue the department temporary managing, continuous placement. Permanent managing, I'm sorry. We're not set to review again until September 25th. Miss Katie, can we look at some dates? I would rather get back together on this rather sooner than later. Maybe like even 30 days from now. What maybe is next one of our dockets that we could squeeze this in on.
We can put this on the May 22nd docket at 9.
Right. I like that.
Okay.
I'm sorry to make extra work for everybody, but this is too fluid right now. Wait till September. And use that with all these folks. Say the judge has set another really fast hearing on this. We want for everybody to get back together. That we want to stay on top of it. So I don't know whether any of that will make a difference, but feel free to use it. Okay, then I'll see you guys back on May 22nd. Did you say, is that a 9 o'clock docket?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And I know it's a lot of extra work for this young man, but gosh, these kids get to this age and it just scares me to death for them.
Yeah.
I just have one other thing to add. Maybe if she lets Mr. Wilson know about that hearing date and invites him to attend, and then he can let the court know of a progress or concerns that he has so that we can address them with him as well.
That's a great idea.
More, absolutely, he's welcome. So, good idea. That's why Ms. Mulinax makes the big bucks. All right, I appreciate y'all very much. Thank you, and I'll see you back in about a month.
All right, thank you all, everybody.
Okay, thanks. Hearing, we're conducting this through Zoom under finding of good cause and agreement of the parties, and we're live streaming, and we, excuse me, Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Morning, Your Honor. This is Eugene Graff on behalf of Department of Family and Protective Services. We have Ms. Watson here on behalf of St. Francis, Ms. Molinax, the attorney ad litem for the child, CASA of the Rolling Plains, GAL for the child, and that's per Mr. Ellison. And we're here, as Your Honor indicated, on a permanency hearing after final order. I understand these are set every 30 days currently to check in on status of Braden. And we have Ms. Watson standing in. I understand that Ms. Osante is no longer with the agency.
Okay, and Mr. Graff, you said 30 days, but this is an after final, and actually they're set every 6 months, unless we've got some kind of issues brewing, and then sometimes we'll set them every 90 days or even more frequently if we need to. Okay, Ms. Molinax, if you want to announce.
Aaron Molinax, attorney ad litem for the child, ready, Your Honor, and he is present with us today.
Okay, and CASA is also present with us today.
We are.
Okay, then. If we can just go ahead and have an update then on how everything's going with Braden.
Yes, ma'am. Braden was placed in a temporary placement on May 13th with Miss Lindsay. It is a step bed. So he's there for 14 days. He is doing very well in this placement. I talked to Miss Lindsay yesterday, who is the foster parent in that home. She says Braden has been very helpful. He's been very kind. He has asked if he can apply for a job. And since he has his documents, he was able to go and do that. I don't know if he's heard back yet, if he has an interview or if he's been offered a job yet. They are putting in for an extension to do another 14 days to see if he continues to do well. And then when I talked to her yesterday, if he does continue to do well, then we'll discuss maybe a permanent placement there for him until he ages out. He has talked to her about, he does want to have a plan for when he turns 18, when he becomes an adult. They've been working on that a lot. He has indicated he wants to go to school and he'd like to be an engineer. Which is fantastic. I'm glad to hear that Braden is thinking about the future now. And the placement's son is an engineer, so he has a good resource to ask some questions of now to make those decisions in his life.
Okay, that sounds great. Braden, I'm glad you're thinking about those things right now, because it's never really too soon. And, applying to colleges and everything needs to start, honestly, it'll need to start this year, so I'm glad you're thinking about it. And that sounds like a great goal for you. And I'm glad to hear you're doing so well at this placement.
Nothing but nice things to say about Braden and his behavior and his helpfulness.
Okay. I hope it's going to work out. I really do. Okay, Ms. Molinax.
Your Honor, we weren't able to contact placement until this morning, but I got the same report from my office that he was doing very well in placement. So hopefully that'll work out for a permanent placement. Because I know Braden needs to be able to stick somewhere. That last placement we hoped would work out and it didn't, but we want Braden to succeed. So.
Absolutely. Okay. CASA?
Yeah, it has been everything that I've talked with Miss Lindsay. We've chatted a few times now, talked with Braden a few times. Everything has gone really well. To Braden's credit, to be fair, he has always said, if I could just get into a home environment, things would start going a lot better. And Braden, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're in a home environment now. This is exactly what you've been looking for, and you're doing great there. I agree with everyone else. Anything we can do, I tried to make it clear in my court report, anything we can do to keep him there for the next 9 months, just get him to 18, I think would be absolutely fantastic. Another reason behind that too, Jamie and I, we've been working trying to figure out once he turns 18, the supervised independent living situation, what that's going to be like. Though we were able to clarify that there aren't any laws or policies that make it impossible for him to go from an RTC into a SIL program. His chances of getting into supervised independent living are a lot better if he comes from a home environment. And I think especially what Braden has been through up to this point, the changes that we've seen, granted, it's still just the last couple weeks. And I know that Miss Lindsay and he were talking about the honeymoon period and, things are going to fade in a bit. But if Braden can stick there and keep doing as well as he's been doing, I think we need to do absolutely everything we can to keep him there until he turns 18 and do everything we can to get him set up so that once he does turn 18, he can get moved into a SIL program.
Braden, I'll echo what Mr. Ellison is saying, because I think your odds of getting in an SIL are much greater if you're coming from this placement. And it sounds like, if things go well, then we can, it's from what Ms. Watson says, it sounds like it is entirely in the realm that we can keep you there. So, because an SIL by its nature, you have a great deal of independence at that point. You bear a lot of responsibility for yourself at that point. It's up to you to make sure you get to the doctor and the dentist, and that you take any meds that you may need, and that if you're going to school, that you get yourself up and have breakfast and get dressed and get out the door and get there on time. There's not, it's just like every other kid that goes off to college. Mom and dad aren't in the bunk next to you, setting your alarm for you and telling you what to do every minute. So, an SIL is, you're just, there are folks around to help you and to try to help guide you if you need some help, but they're not going to make those day-to-day decisions for you. So this is a great test run for you to kind of transition into that environment, I think. And I think having a job right now is a great thing, and all of that will help you. So, okay. Braden, anything that you want to talk to us about today?
The job thing, y'all didn't know if I had an interview or not. I actually had my interview Monday.
Great.
And they said they were going to reach back out to me about when we're going to move farther, so I'm just waiting for a phone call.
Okay. Where are you interviewing?
It was Dallas.
Okay, great. All right. Driver's license. Does Braden have his driver's license yet? No? Is that anything we can work on, or are we just going to have to wait till he turns 18?
As far as I know,
stabilized.
Yeah, go ahead, Tippy. Sorry.
Yeah, we need to get him stabilized in a placement, and then the PAL worker can help him get that done.
Okay. Another good reason to make this thing work. So I know that's been difficult because you've had to move a lot, and we all want to see you just put roots down and succeed. So I'm really, really excited for you. All right then. Anybody have anything else?
As always, Braden, if you've got, I've told you before, everybody that you're seeing on the screen right now, we're all rooting for you. This is the group of people. You don't always see us. You don't always know we're here, but we are all working on stuff behind the scenes, getting stuff figured out for you. So if you need anything at all, you reach out to us and let us know.
All right, then. It's great to see you, Braden. And I just, everybody just keep me posted on how things are going. So I'll see you all back for our next hearing. It's scheduled for September 25th of 2024, and that'll be on a 9:00 docket. So until then, we'll continue the department as permanent managing conservator, and we'll continue Braden's placement, I hope, till you turn 18. Okay. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
Good luck with your interview, Braden.
I'm so proud of that kiddo.
Yeah, sounds like he's doing great.
Yeah.
540, the Department of Family Protective Services versus David Carr and Misty Carr, and in the interest of Chanson Walker and Alan Walker. We're here on a compliance hearing in a court of services case. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. And Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. All right, we'll take announcements.
Todd Albee on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're ready to proceed, Your Honor. Brian Kano is the FBS worker who is maintaining this case. She's present, ready to give an update. Also have Karen Bider for St. Francis if we need updates on the FIS program.
Karen Mullen-Ax appearing for Bethany Stevens for the father, David Carr. I personally spoke to him on Monday in the courtroom in Donlan County, and he had the link. There's nobody in the waiting room?
I let him in, and it was one of those joining, and then he fell out just a few minutes ago. I was going to go ahead and finish announcements and then tell you that I've lost him.
Okay.
But he was trying to log in.
Sage Seal, attorney ad litem, Your Honor, and I'm ready.
Okay, so hopefully he'll log back in here in a minute and we'll take another stab at getting him in. Very good. All right. I show we're connected to Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr, can you unmute so we make sure we are connected with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we can hear you. Thank you. Let's see. Is Ms. Keno going to give us the update?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Keno, what do we have new?
Okay, so David and the family are participated in services. David's participating in individual counseling, anger management. He's completed anger management. He's participating in parenting. He's completed a drug and alcohol assessment. And he is providing random drug and alcohol screenings. And the children are also participating in individual counseling.
Children still doing well at the uncle's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And I assume that Mr. Carr is having plenty of contact with the kids and.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I read that they're in the second phase of the TFF program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And do you feel like that Mr. Carr is in compliance with everything that the department is asking him to do?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Have our drug and alcohol screens been negative?
Yes.
Okay. You just need a little more time to get everything finished up?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Molinax, on behalf of Ms. Stevens for Mr. Carr.
Your Honor, after speaking to Mr. Carr the other day, I think he said he's done everything except for the parenting classes he hasn't completed, and that he's been doing well. And the reports I got from Ms. Stevens are that he's been doing well. So that's all that I have.
Mr. Carr, anything you want to talk about or have any questions about today?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I've actually started the parenting classes. I'm about halfway done with those.
Okay, great. All right. Well, it sounds like you're doing really well and the kids are doing well. And hopefully, all of this will be helpful to you moving forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Seal?
Your Honor, my recommendation would be just that the children are doing well. I don't have any concerns with them at this point. I know that Ms. Bider mentioned Aylin, with her behaviors to want to be perfect and please everyone, and that they plan to help work on that. Other than that, I don't have any concerns, and I would ask that the children be able to remain with David at this point to allow him to continue working services.
All right, I appreciate it. Okay, Mr. Abbey, I assume we want at least one more compliance hearing, correct?
At this point in time, we do, Your Honor. Mr. Carr's doing what he's supposed to. I suspect we're getting close to being done, but if you'll set a compliance hearing, we'll go from there.
Okay. All right, then we're going to continue services at this point and give Mr. Carr a chance to get everything finished up. I mean, I think it sounds to me like everything's going really well. So we'll set another compliance hearing for June 26th of 2024. That'll be a 9 o'clock docket. Mr. Carr, I have a feeling that this case will be dismissed before that, and that hearing may not be necessary, but we'll just get it on the calendar just in case. So I wish you continued success and glad that everything's going so well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. We're here on a review hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Alvey on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present, ready to proceed, Your Honor. Jim Koval is the St. Francis Ministries specialist who will be giving us an update.
Aaron Molinax, attorney for the father, Francisco Nara, Your Honor. Just so the court is aware, the parents' counselor, Karen Rothwell, was going to be subpoenaed to be here today, but before we could subpoena her, she was picked to be on the jury in Bethany Stevens' criminal case. And so she's not able to be present. And so I would either ask for, if the court's going to make a ruling, either to get her recommendation first or for a continuance so that we can have her present for that.
Viaga Red, standing in for Brooks Barfield, and we would also ask that continuance be granted or something so that the counselor's recommendations can be heard by the court, because Mr. Coville's report and our client's report are very different. So I believe we need some sort of verification from the counselor as to what's going on.
Okay, Mr. Coble fell out. I'm bringing him back in too.
And while you're doing that, Judge, I do have a recommendation from the counselor, but obviously if we need to get it from St. Francis or whatever, that's fine. I just wanted to make the court aware.
Okay.
Judge, I don't think the department has an objection to postponing our case for a short period of time until that counselor can be available. I think it's important that the court hear that as well as what we have to say.
What? All right, let's see. Have we gotten everybody's announcements? Let me just get that done. Ms. Seal needs to, and Casa.
Your Honor, Sage Seal, Attorney ad litem, I'm present, and I can verify that Ms. Rothwell was chosen, and I'm not in opposition to the continuance.
Okay.
In case
Casa.
Lucario with Casa. Sorry, Your Honor.
Oh, no, you're fine. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do because of, our obvious deadlines that we have with review hearings. We can take up everything that we can and go ahead and start our review hearing, and we'll just recess it. And then Ms. Katie can start looking for a date to circulate to you all. Or maybe we could resume this fairly quickly. But I'd like to at least, let's go ahead and hear what we can today. And then obviously we'll just, won't go any further than that. Okay, then I'd like to then have an update from Mr. Coble on parents' progress and how the children are doing. And I've reviewed the report, so I know what's in your report. So
yes, ma'am. I don't really have any updates since the report was filed. Things continue to go well in placement with the children. And as the report has noted, Francisco is working. He's changed jobs a few times. Marisol's not working. They have maintained housing in the same apartment for 6 months now. I think the court report was pretty detailed, so I don't really have anything to add to it beyond that.
all right. Mr. Coble, has there been any improvement as far as getting the apartment furnished and getting things that the children might need and that kind of thing?
They did purchase a table for the kitchen, a small table and 4 chairs. So that's an improvement. There are beds in the girls' room. They don't have bedding on the beds. It's just mattresses, but they do have appropriate beds in the girls' room. And there are some furnishings. It's still a little sparse, but it's better than it was.
And is mom looking for work?
She has told me in the past month or two that she was not looking for work. But then I was under an impression that she was in an onboarding process at Pilot in Childress. But then when I asked her about that, she said that she wasn't. So I'm not sure what the status of that is. I have obtained the 3-year deferred adjudication terms of probation from the criminal case. And it does state that she should obtain and maintain employment.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Rudd, anything to report?
My client is looking for a job, and she said that she did not agree that she didn't want to work, but her probation officer had told her that if she's not working, she should be doing community service. So she's been doing her community service to get that out of the way so that when she does get a job, she will have her community service done. So she is doing that. She also said that they have couches and a TV in the living room. They have a kitchen table. They have a twin size bed and a toddler bed for the girls. They had one full size bed in the girls' room, but now they each have their own little beds. And that she is, she's saying she's doing everything she can do and is looking for a job.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Molinax?
Mr. Nahara is working at United. I have several pay stubs if I need to get them to Mr. Coville or to the court or whatever. And also I have the same report that they've got furnishings for the home, that they've been doing everything they're supposed to do, and they'd like the children to come home. There was a report that Mr. Nahara had only done, maybe 12 of the parenting classes. I'm not sure if the court is aware, but apparently CareNet is requiring them to do gospel classes and complete those before the parenting classes begin. So he did a few of those and then figured out he didn't have to do those and then got the parenting classes. And so I don't know how that's being a requirement, but he is working on those parenting classes.
What kind of classes did you say?
So I have the names of two of them. One of them is Unlocking the Gospel. I think that's the actual name of the course, maybe. Recognizing Satan and Giving God Your Worst, Gaining Victory. And so I don't know how those are being required before they can do parenting classes. But he said he had to do. They're here.
Yeah, I've got them logged in. So Mr. Coble, are you aware of that?
Yes, Judge, the way that CareNet usually works is that they do have some, because they're a faith-based organization, they do normally ask for an introduction of several, like 3 classes that are faith-based, and then they move on to the parenting. But many months ago, they started providing the parenting classes to Francisco, and he has completed 12 of the 27. So the faith-based portion of it is not an issue and hasn't been an issue for months. He completes the parenting class, and then they ask him questions about it to confirm that he retained the knowledge, and then they send him more classes. I met with him last Monday and told him about the 12 of 27 and encouraged him to try to complete some more before court. I don't know if he has completed more, but as of last Monday, it was 12 parenting classes completed out of 27, and we've been working on this, for about a year.
And Your Honor, these gospel classes were in at least November and December. So, I mean, several months isn't like a year ago. And if he's required to do these classes before he can get the parenting classes, I don't think that's appropriate.
He's not required. He's been working on the parenting classes. They've been sending them to him.
Right. Because he finished the gospel classes, right?
He's had parenting classes sent to him, months ago. And CareNet was not requiring him to do those things before the parenting. I've been checking in with CareNet regularly, and they tell me that they send him the parenting classes, but then he doesn't, get back with them to complete and to do the oral, test afterward in order for them to send him more.
And Your Honor, since Mr. Nahar is here, I can call him and ask him about the procedure that he had to go through regarding these gospel classes.
Yeah, Judge, I just think it's moot. I mean, he did those in November, and he's working his parenting classes, but he's not completed those parenting classes. So whether he had to complete those before he started is a moot question.
Well, I don't think it's moot, because if they're requiring all the parents to do them, then we need to know about that, because they shouldn't be required to do faith-based classes if they're not spiritual.
Right. I'm not arguing that at all, but in this particular case, it's already done, and it's not an issue at this point in time.
Okay, so I mean, it's water under the bridge. I mean, I'm glad to know about this. Did not know about this, but I will address that in a minute. But it does provide explanation why he still hasn't completed parenting if he had to do these other things, or they both did, before moving into parenting. So it certainly gives me some explanation of why maybe he isn't farther along with that. So I do want, Ms. Martinez, this is something that needs to be run up the chain at St. Francis for, I don't know what Cheryl's contract calls for, and obviously I'm not a part of that, but I do not think that in department cases that CareNet, they can certainly offer that to parents if they want it, but they should not be required to take any of those kinds of classes before they initiate what is true parenting. And if that's something that the contract with St. Francis, and CareNet needs to be addressed, then I think that needs to be run up the flagpole to some directors.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not saying that they're bad things. I'm just saying, we got some pretty strict rules about that stuff in this country. So somebody needs to be looking at that. Okay. Ms. Molinax, anything further?
Well, Your Honor, since Mr. Nahar is here, I would like to ask him about his progress on the parenting classes.
That'd be fun.
Francisco, can you unmute?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, do you want to swear him in, or do you just want him to tell you what he's done on the parents?
I just want him to tell me what he's done.
I like 2 weeks ago, I had finished like I was at like the 12 mark, and then last Wednesday I had called them and they sent me 2 more classes, and then on Thursday I was working, so that I wasn't able to do the what's that thing called, the interview or something with them. So she told me to wait till Monday, and I did like one of the discussions on Monday, and then she told me to wait, and then she said like 2 or 3 more classes, and then she told me on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I guess they don't do the discussions and stuff, but I did like 15. So she told me I had to wait till this Thursday to do the other discussions, but they said they're closed this Thursday, so I only have like 8 or 7 classes left of the parenting classes. But I've been completing them. Like when I have break, like when I get break on my job, I'll do like 1 or 2 because they're like 17 to 30 minutes long almost. So I'll do some on my break, and then sometimes I'll be able to do some when I get off. But usually, I go straight home and go to sleep as soon as I get off work. So I only have like 7 of them left of the parenting classes.
That's all I was going to ask him about, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, then Ms. Seal?
Your Honor, the girls are doing well with their grandparents. They do enjoy their visitations with their parents. I believe there was a little bit of scheduling issues, and so the parents weren't able to make a few of those visitations, but the ones they do have seem to be going well. The children love it, and I don't have any concerns with their placement at this time.
All right. So let me just ask, since we're going to recess, has the counselor's recommendations been circulated to all of you?
I got the recommendation this morning, I guess, before she went into the courthouse. And so I haven't sent it to anybody.
Okay. Well, I think, before we get back together, if everybody will circulate that so everybody will have an opportunity to look at it in advance. And if there's no objection, I'd love to see it in advance so that, you aren't sitting around waiting on me to, pour through it. But if there's any objection to that, I understand.
I'd just like to see it first, Your Honor. I haven't seen it either. So we'll go from there.
All right. Okay. So it looks like as far as.
I'm sorry. I think CASA also has a recommendation. I don't know if you want that today or if you want that at that hearing.
I mean, I'm happy to hear what CASA has to say as of this moment in time, but obviously, I'm not making any ruling. So CASA, if y'all want to go ahead and tell me, and then I want to make sure everybody's checking the chat feature about our reset date. So, all right, CASA.
Yes, Your Honor. My recommendations are kind of probably the same as Sage's. I have been to visit the kids in placement. I have been to a home visit here with the parents at their apartment. I don't have any concerns at this time.
Okay. So. All right, so let's see. We're looking at May 14th at 1 o'clock. Is that where we're at? I know we've gone through several other dates.
No, Judge, we have an issue on the 14th. I'm still trying to get this worked out.
Okay, let's go back to the May 7th. Could everybody do it over the lunch hour?
And I'm still trying to find a reporter for the 7th. So if that's an issue, we won't be able to do it that day.
Now I can record.
Brooks is in trial May 7th. And she feels like it will go. He also may or may not be, he's pretty far down on the list on May 14th. So as of right now, she said May 14th would be best. But May 7th is not good. He will be in trial.
Paige, is that the day you have to be done by 2, May 14th?
Yes.
I have a vein procedure at 12:30 at the heart doctor. And so they said it'd take about 20 minutes, but I don't know. It's supposed to be at 12:30, but I don't know when it starts.
I think Ms. Katie said that we've got some other problem with May 14th.
I am available on the May 9th proposal that Rachel just sent out.
The morning one?
But Todd has mediation.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in the afternoon.
We're talking about.
I have to be in at 11:30, but I could, even if I'm driving, I could stop and make sure I could be on it before the 9 o'clock docket.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably talking about starting pretty early that morning if we're.
Well, we could do this one at 9 and then start Carter after this one. That's what I meant. I didn't mean to do a special super early setting for it.
Okay.
I can make that work, Your Honor. My mediation's not till the afternoon.
So the 9th, right at 9 o'clock.
Yes, we'll do this one first.
All right, let's let Mr. Red check.
Apparently Brooks already has two that morning, so he'll be on anyway.
Okay, so we will set this one right at 9 o'clock. If that gets everybody out and going where they need to be going. All right, I appreciate everybody working that out, and I'll see you back in May 9th, and we'll just pick up where we left off.
And Judge, while we're waiting on it, Counselor, is there any possibility that I can talk to the attorneys in this case?
Absolutely. We are here for a review hearing. We commenced this back on April 24th. We didn't have a key witness available that day, so we reset to today's date. All right, we are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming. Ms. Taylor's making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Albee on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present, ready to proceed, Your Honor. I think we have an agreement that we can announce to the court this morning.
Aaron Mullinex, attorney for the father. He is present. We're ready, Your Honor.
Brooks Barfield, attorney for mother, Marisol. We are present and ready.
Sage Seal, attorney ad litem, Your Honor. I'm present and ready.
Casey Lucario with Costa.
All right. Thank you all very much. All right, Mr. Albee.
Your Honor, the department in St. Francis still has some concerns with these parents. However, based upon the recommendations of Ms. Rothwell, the parents counselor, we would like to announce that we have an agreement that would increase visitation, unsupervised visits with the parents up until June 10th. On June 10th, the children would have an two-night overnight stay with the parents. And if all goes well, we would begin a monitored return on June 10th.
All right, so are we waiting to call it any kind of monitored return for purposes of
Judge,
dismissal dates? Are we waiting to see how things go and then enter into a order for monitored return?
We can do it either way. I don't think we have a dismissal date issue, but we can do it whichever way the court feels most appropriate.
Your Honor, the dismissal date's not till July 26th. And so we figure there'd be at least 6 weeks when they're actually returned to the home. So I think we'd be fine doing it either way also. But we would, the first step of that, he's provided us with a reunification plan. And the first step of that is two unsupervised 2-hour visits this week. And it's Thursday. So Mr. Nara would just ask that the first of those take place today if we're doing that, since there's only 3 days left in the week.
And we can make that work.
Okay. All right. I show the dismissal date is July 13th. I don't know where the discrepancy is, but I show it as July 13th. Our final is set for June 26th. So we're, this is all, coming around pretty quick. I guess my preference is to wait to actually sign the order for monitored return until that time. And that just gives us the maximum amount of time to, continue to work on things if we need to. So I think the better thing today is just to continue everything and just, go ahead and order the increased visitation as announced. And then when we get closer to that actual date, if everything's going well, then y'all can just send me an order, and we'll sign it.
Okay. I got the dismissal date from the permanency report, so I'm sure yours is more correct than mine.
Can't claim pride of authorship of that at all, so I don't know. That's what I show. But anyway, in an abundance of caution, let's go with the 7/13 date just to be sure. But okay, all right then, Mr. Barfield, is that what you all have agreed to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we have Ms. Mullinex.
Yes, Your Honor. And just for the court's record, we do have the counselor, Ms. Rothwell, here if you want to hear from her regarding anything. She's the counselor for the parties.
Okay. And then Ms. Seal, do you think that that's in the best interest of the children?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm in agreement.
All right. And Casa?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm in agreement as well.
Okay. All right. Since she's here, then let me just ask her, Ms. Rothwell, do you think that this is in the best interest of these children?
Yes, ma'am. I think reunification is the best plan to proceed with for all parties involved.
Okay, and you feel like parents have made progress and
I feel like parents are making progress, and I feel like that when they actually have the girls in their, with them, that progress will become even more evident. I feel like we're in a stall mode right now because we've been in limbo, and I feel like having the girls with them will push them to become even better at parenting.
okay. Are your sessions continuing with them?
Yes, ma'am, they are continuing, and I would, when they have an overnight visit, I'm planning on, I had talked to them about coming to the house and having a family session with them when they have an overnight visit.
Okay.
And Your Honor, we're fine if you order that as well.
Okay, yeah, I want the counseling to continue. I mean, I think it's just it's a good support for the parents and for the children. So I think I would like to see that continue at least for a certain period of time. It gives them an avenue to discuss any problems or, if they need assistance with something or whatever. So I think that's a good thing. All right. Okay, well, I appreciate Ms. Rothwell, I appreciate you logging in this morning and appearing and working with the family. I appreciate it very much.
I apologize for being late, Judge. I got the wrong Zoom link.
No, it's okay. We were still working on things, no problem. Okay, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator of the children and continue their current placement. I'll approve the phase-in visitation plan. Obviously increasing that unsupervised and then overnights. And then if everything's gone well, then Mr. Alvey, you all can just submit the order for monitored return and I'll sign it when we get closer to that June 10th. Is that what you said?
That's correct. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. If we have a problem, then y'all know, just let Miss Katie know and we'll try to sneak a hearing in real quick somewhere.
And Your Honor, you said that final set for June 26th is that on the 9 o'clock docket?
It is on the 9 o'clock docket. And so, if we've already gone into a monitored return at that point, probably that'll just be vacated. Unless there's some issue that we need to get together and talk about. But for right now, that's when it's set. Okay, then I appreciate everybody. Thank you all for logging in early this morning. And I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Mr. Nara and Miss Garza, I wish you all the best of luck with this. Just keep your heads in the game.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. I'm still trying to get everybody connected. We are here today, scheduled for our final. My understanding is the children have been returned home at this time. And so I think the department is just asking to continue to monitor for a while, which is typical. And my understanding is that maybe parents are asking for dismissal today. But nevertheless, my understanding is that we're going to make some kind of disposition, whether it be a monitored return or a dismissal today. Is that correct?
That's my understanding also, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then we are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and Ms. Galvin is making our record today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Todd Alvey on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present, ready to proceed, Your Honor. Tim Koval, St. Francis Ministries Permanency Specialist, will be the only witness I'll be calling, Your Honor.
Brooks Barfield, attorney for mother. She is present.
And Mullinex, attorney for the father. He is also present. We're ready, Your Honor.
HCL attorney at bottom, and I'm ready, Your Honor. I didn't hear that one.
Casey, you were really hard to hear.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Casey Lucario with Costa.
Okay, so I know that we've got some folks that need to be other places here, in a short amount of time. Y'all want to handle this informally? Let me just try to get some information and decide, or y'all want to put on some testimony? What are we doing?
As one of those people that have to be in court in approximately
30 minutes, I think informally is great with me.
We're good with that also.
And I have to be in court before 30 minutes, so I'm okay with that too.
No objection from me, Judge.
Well, okay, so really, I mean, at this juncture, kids are home, which is great. And I would like to, of course, get a short report from Mr. Koval on how things are going. So I think that's the place to start. Mr. Koval, if you can just give us a quick update on how things have been. I think it's only been, what, a couple weeks?
Yes, Judge. 2 weeks ago today was when we placed the children with the parents. We came to the apartment a week ago for the first monitoring visit, and everything was fine, no issues. We'll visit again later this week. But the kids seem to be settling in. When I saw them last week, they were happy and appeared to be in good spirits and good shape.
Okay. Do they still have some regular contact with the grandparents?
Is that a question for me, Judge?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. I did stop by a week ago or 2 weeks ago when I did the placement and saw the grandmother and had her sign her paperwork and encouraged her to stay in touch with the parents and the kids. And I believe that when I visited last week, the parents told me that they did call her and let the kids talk to her, and that they were going to visit and maintain that contact, which we certainly encourage because that will help ease this transition. And I know grandma misses the kids and the kids miss grandma.
Yeah, I mean, you know, she's been playing a very important role for the children. So I just hope that moving forward, whatever we're doing today, that parents will continue that and, you know, continue that, what should be a very close relationship anyway, as grandparent. Okay, so we're 2 weeks in and no problems. That's good. Parents have finished everything up. Is that correct?
Francisco just has some more CareNet classes that he's doing, which he did complete 4 last week, and he has 4 more that are in his possession now that he's working on. And then after he does those 4, he has 3 others, and then he'll be done.
Okay.
And Marisol has completed her classes, so really the CareNet is the only thing left for Francisco.
And I think I read in the report that mom is not working this summer to be able to stay home with the children while they're out of school. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge. And in the fall, because of the way that Juliana's birthday falls after September 1st for turning 4, she will not go to pre-K until next year. So Juliana will either need to be in daycare or will need to be home with Marisol in the fall. But Irene will be in kindergarten this coming fall.
Okay. All right. Is the family doing okay with the one income?
They seem to be doing well. They've been in the same housing now, which is rent controlled apartment, since October of last year. And I believe the rent is less than $100 a month. So it's a pretty good deal for them. And I know that they've told me that they're able to meet all their needs. And Francisco is working at a steady job that's, I think, probably paying him more than any other job from what he told me that he's had before. So he seems to be happy there and doing well.
All right, good. Okay. Let me just ask counsel, anybody have any questions they want to ask Mr. Koval?
I do not. I think I've read the reports and everything. I think everything's pretty self-explanatory, Judge.
Yeah, I don't have anything either.
Judge, I would ask just one question for Mr. Koval. Tim, can you tell us what things you would be continuing to monitor and why you think those need to be monitored if we're continuing on a monitored return?
Yes. This is a young family with young kids, and there were some ups and downs in this case prior to now before things really got rolling and on track. And they do live 30 minutes away from the nearest family, and they don't have a large support system. So we want to monitor not in a punitive way, but as a way to partner with them to make sure that they have everything that they need and that everything continues to go smoothly.
And Mr. Koval, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we're usually looking at about, 60 to 90 day period of time that we are monitoring a family.
Yes, Judge. I think what we would like to do is weekly monitoring for 60 days and then cut it back to a couple times a month. And then, 90 to 120 days, we're usually out.
Okay. All right.
And another reason for the monitoring, I know that Irene has a couple of healthcare appointments in July and in August, and we can monitor that to make sure that that goes okay and that she makes it to her appointments, and then making sure that she gets registered for school, which will probably be, the registration will probably be the end of July, and make sure that those records are transferred and that school starts smoothly. She has speech therapy that she was in when she was in Memphis. So we want to make sure that that speech therapy gets transferred over and that she gets that service at the new school.
All right. So the department at this point is just wanting to monitor in a supportive role and make sure that the family has access to resources that they need and that kind of thing.
We do.
We didn't hear what you said, Mr. Nahara.
I was gonna say we do have those type of resources, and we got more like support now than we did when we started. So we do kind of have like people who like show us to do stuff and, you know, help us when we need stuff. And we always see their grandparents, like, well, when we try to at least, but we always have their support always. And, you know, we met some more people along the way. So.
Okay. And that's all good. That's all great. All right. Then Mr. Barfield, you know, we've got two options today: monitor, return, or dismissal. So, Mr. Barfield, you want to address?
Obviously, I believe my client would like a dismissal today. She obviously is going to cooperate with whatever the court decides to do. I think they've made significant progress, and based on the report, I do think they've established a support system and everything. But I mean, we would prefer a dismissal today, but certainly, you know, if the court decides otherwise, I think, you know, my client would certainly, you know, abide by whatever the court decided.
All right. And Ms. Molinax?
And Mr. Nahara would like the case dismissed. His belief is that this case would have been moved along further if Mr. Koval hadn't have done some things he had done. And if Mr. Nahara, if you want to hear from him about that, I don't mind him telling you, but he would like to have the case dismissed. He doesn't believe there should be a monitored return.
All right. And Ms. Seal?
Your Honor, at this point, it appears the monitored return does seem to be more in a supportive manner. But I do agree that Marisol and Francisco have made great strides since the beginning of this case. In the last 4 to 6 months, things have really smoothed out, and I think they've done well. But at this point, I don't think the monitored return hurts anyone by going ahead and allowing the department to still continue for just a little longer to make sure all the transition is good.
All right. Thank you. And Casa?
Mr. Honor. I agree with what everybody's saying. The parents have made a ton of progress. I think either way that it goes, it's going to be great. Obviously, I will continue to stay on the case and visit. I was there this past weekend and everything is going really well. But I understand their concerns for wanting the dismissal.
All right. So, because it's just been 2 weeks, what I would like to do is have the department monitor for another 30 days. If we have no, issues, hiccups, problems, anything like that, then at that time I would consider a dismissal. That's a little shorter than normal, Mr. Misnahara, quite frankly, but I've been getting a lot of good reports over the last several months about how well you all have been doing. So, let's just hang in there for another 30 days and let everybody make sure you guys have got in place what you need. It's always a big transition when kids come home. It's a transition for them. It's a transition for you all. Everybody's happy, and it's kind of the honeymoon phase when everybody first gets back together, and then kids start being kids and they start, pushing buttons and pushing boundaries and all of that. And then, that's kind of when the hard work has to go into play. In other words, the things you guys have learned over the last year and a half, that's when you got to draw on those things and implement and, demonstrate what you've learned. And so I think it's just a little new. I mean, 2 weeks is it's just a little early for me to be comfortable with letting everybody just walk away. So let's earmark it for about 30 days. Miss Katie, can we squeeze something in real, about that time frame? If it's not right 30 days exactly, that's fine. If it's 35, in order to do that, I'm going to grant the monitored return, obviously. but I want to take a look at where we're at, in roughly 30 days.
July the 24th. Is that too soon?
No, that's close enough.
Okay.
So let's just set it on the 24th. Everybody get back together for a few minutes. As long as there's no issues, no problems, then, we'll get out at that point in time.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. So
Will that be the morning docket, Judge?
Oh, Ms. Katie?
Yes.
Okay. 9 o'clock docket. All right. So I appreciate everybody shuffling around today. And so everybody's free to go, but I will enter the monitored return and continue placement for parents.
Thank you, Judge. That was the only hearing I had.
Okay, folks, I know we're getting ready to run into the lunch hour. I'd like to get some testimony done, and then probably at some point I will give everybody a short, 20 to 30 minute break. You maybe grab a snack or something, but let's get a little bit going before we do that. We are here today for our final in this case. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming on YouTube, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. All right, so a couple things before we take announcements, just for the record. I did, at the request of the children's attorney ad litem, I did have a conference in chambers with the children, with their attorney, and with CASA, as well as their therapist, before calling the case this morning. And one of the children, Sierra, 15 years old, has elected to stay present. I've advised her that she's free to leave at any point in time if she gets bored with all of us, which is entirely possible. So she knows that she can do that. And Kaylee elected to go on back to her day's activities. Okay. Little housekeeping, Ms. Sheffield, you've got video on. I need you to be in the video. All right, thank you. All right, we will go ahead and take announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Todd Alvey on behalf of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Present, ready to proceed.
Sage Still, attorney for respondent mother Tamara Sheffield, Your Honor. She is present and we are ready.
Your Honor, Jeff Hill on behalf of respondent father Jose Favela. I do not see him here. Judge, I have not been involved in this case until yesterday. I was contacted by Brooks Barfield's office and requested to fill in for him at today's hearing. He's in a jury trial today in federal court. It's my understanding they requested these proceedings be continued based on that, and that was denied. So they have asked me to fill in for Mr. Barfield. I'm here. I have reviewed as much of the file as I could. I've reviewed the petition, investigative report, and several permanency reports with respect to this case. So I guess I'm as ready as I can be on less than 24 hours notice. I've had no contact with Mr. Favela. Brooks Barfield's office tells me they have had limited to no contact with him and no contact recently. So I'm here for Brooks, and I will do the best I can with the amount of preparation I've been able to get in this case.
Okay, and just for the record, and we'll take announcements again. Mr. Hill, I appreciate you stepping in on short notice. This case has been set for quite some time. You can see the number of attorneys involved in the case and how difficult it is to try to reschedule something like this. We are getting very close to our dismissal date on May 6th of 2024. And so the court my hands were tied about trying to continue the case. I would not have insisted on moving forward had Mr. Favela ever participated with us. He's not appeared at one hearing, and I think testimony will bear out. I don't think he's had any contact really with anybody throughout the life of the case. So again, thank you. I appreciate you jumping in for us.
You're welcome, Judge.
All right, we'll finish announcements.
Stacey Grant for respondent father Martin Gomez. Your Honor, I am not in a position to proceed today due to no contact with my client. However, for transparency with the court, Mr. Gomez has not materially participated in this case, nor contacted my office, nor been in any way engaged in a service plan. But I feel that I must ask for the continuance as a matter of my obligation to Mr. Gomez, and would so move.
All right, and Ms. Grant, I appreciate it. Same situation. We're up against our dismissal date. There's been no participation. No motions for extension have been made in the case, or any proof of extraordinary circumstances. So that motion for continuance will be denied, and we will proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I am ready to the extent I can be prepared without the participation of my client.
I understand.
William Taylor, representing Lonnie Rodriguez, respondent, father of Kaylee. And Your Honor, I'm in the exact same position. Had no contact throughout the case with my client. He's participated not at all, and his whereabouts is unknown. And I'm basically in the same position that Ms. Grant and Mr. Hill have announced.
And Bailey Sapien on behalf of Manuel Morales. I was expecting my client to appear today, but I have not been able to get a hold of him throughout the morning. I'm not sure what that means, but I would also join in asking for a continuance.
All right, and Ms. Sapien, same problem. We were set at 10:40 this morning. The court was about 15 minutes late on its docket. So at approximately 11 a.m. this morning, we were prepared to call the case and move forward. It's now 11:58 a.m., so almost noon. And he has not logged in at all this morning while we've been having various breakout rooms and bench conferences and discussions with children. Same thing, up against our dismissal date. So your motion will be denied.
Thank you, Judge. I understand. And he has been able to assist me in his case, so I'm ready.
Aaron Molinex, attorney ad litem for the children, ready, Your Honor. As the court stated, Kaylee and Sierra were both present at the beginning of the hearing. Kaylee decided that she would go ahead and go about her business. Sierra is present. Macy and Aaron did not want to participate, so they did not appear today, but I'm ready.
All right, we have a number of people from CASA present. Ms. Hall, if you want to tell us who all we've got here.
Heather Obermiller is the CASA on this case. I am her supervisor, and we also have Connie and Melissa that are employees at CASA.
Okay. All right. Okay, then, Mr. Albee. Who's your first witness?
Your Honor,
Before I
prior
call
to the
them-
calling of any witnesses, the Father Martin Gomez would ask that we invoke the rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to know if there are any witnesses that are not parties. So we've got to discuss who's going to call who. So, Mr. Albee, who do you intend to call?
Judge, at this time, I only intend to call Ms. J. Cairns.
All right. So she certainly is a department representative and wouldn't be subject to the rule. Ms. Seal?
Your Honor, my only prospective witness would be my client, Ms. Sheffield.
Okay. So she would not be subject to the rule. Ms. Grant?
Your Honor, my only witness would be Mr. Gomez, should he log into this hearing before we are finished.
Okay. And Ms. Sapien?
Like Ms. Grant, Your Honor, if my client were to log in, I would be calling him.
Okay. And Mr. Hill?
I would give the same answer, Judge.
All right. Mr. Taylor?
I anticipate no witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Stevens, I failed to address Ms. Stevens is not present today. She was in trial, I believe in a criminal jury trial elsewhere. She did file a report with the court with respect to her representation of the unknown father. She's had no contact and has not been able to identify the unknown father. So she did circulate a written report, which the court has accepted due to her conflict. All right.
Your Honor, the only other motion I have is that should this hearing be being broadcast on YouTube, that it be removed from and closed to the public due to the sensitivity of any information that might be discussed during testimony.
All right. First, let me just check Ms. Molinex as far as the rule being invoked.
Your Honor, the only potential witness I have would be Heather Obermiller, and she's a party as CASA.
Okay. All All right, so I don't think there's anybody that needs to be removed from the proceeding at this time, based on Ms. Grant's request to invoke the rule of witnesses. Everybody that's going to testify today is either a party or a representative of a party. With respect to closing the courtroom, Ms. Grant, are you, if it's information about the parents, that's not a basis. If it's information about child or children, that's a different thing.
The request is in the interest of protection of the children and any minors associated with the case, Your Honor.
All right, let me just find out. Is there any objection to that?
No objection.
No objection.
Objection.
No, Your Honor. No objection.
All right, then a motion has been made to close the courtroom to protect the privacy and confidentiality of the children, the subject of this suit. There being no objection made to that, the court will find that it is in the best interest of the children to do so. I will close the courtroom at this point in time. And should anybody try to join, then we'll discuss what their role might be and whether or not to allow them to participate.